everybody. Welcome into Talking Fitchburg on this Friday, September 3rd, 2021. I'm Jeremy Crosby. Hope you're having a great Friday evening. If you're watching this right before our football coverage is about to kick off here at 7 o'clock tonight, if you're watching this on a Friday night. If you're watching this elsewhere, well, you can watch football again when it replays here on Fact TV. We've got a busy show for you. We'll get you the latest headlines coming up here in just a second. But we're going to replay one of our recent interviews with the Fitchburg Historical Society as they conduct an interview with Promega and what they were doing during COVID-19. So cool to have Promega right here in our backyard. And there's so many cool, fun things that they're doing and also helping with COVID-19. So we're excited to share that interview. Catherine Schneider from the Historical Society hosting that interview and continuing her series on kind of sharing the stories that happened during COVID-19, which I think is so cool. So we'll have that coming up for you here in just a little bit. Let's talk about some headlines here. And the first one here is work together for a safe Labor Day weekend. This is from our friends at DOT. If you're traveling, buckle up, put the phones down, and plan a route. Wisconsin DOT reminds those who travel during Labor Day weekend to buckle up, plan the routes, and drive carefully. Why did I repeat that? Because it's important. They say it twice, so we got to make sure you drive safely. All right. As far as details here on this, slow down, posted speed limits applied to the ideal travel conditions. Drivers are required to travel at the reasonable and prudent speed based on weather and traffic conditions. Holiday weekend traffic typically means more traffic. Be prepared for delays and traffic slowdowns as you do hit the road. Eliminate distractions and focus on what's ahead. Texting while driving is prohibited and very dangerous. It's also illegal in Wisconsin for drivers to use a handheld mobile device in a work zone, except in an emergency. And finally, be prepared to move over and slow down when you see approaching emergency responder vehicles, including police and fire vehicles, ambulances, tow trucks, and highway maintenance vehicles. If they are stopped along the side of the highway with the warning lights on, this means you need to slow down and move over. If you can't move over, then you really need to slow down and be safe as you travel through the area. More safety tips are online at DOT's website. I would suggest you download the 511 app just to be safe. All right, we have a Hispanics Latinx Heritage Month picture book picks. This is at the Fitchburg Public Library. It's to be on Wednesday, September 15th. Pick a book recommendations for the kickoff of Hispanic and Latinx Heritage Month 2021. Those picks will be available at 9 a.m. on the 15th at the Fitchburg Public Library's Facebook page. You can check that out. All right, Senior Center is looking for RSVP driver escort service drivers. If you're interested in helping out with this, it'd be great. The RSVP driver escort services, medical employment rides, the driver service program remains open. However, due to the very limited number of returning drivers, ride requests are being taken on a limited basis. Please note, we do require a notice of at least 5 business days for a ride request in order to find an available driver. If you are brand new to the program, time will be needed to get you registered. So please allow for that as well. RSVP will be getting in contact with both you and current new passengers regarding the updated vaccine policies. Also, a proof of vaccination will be required as well. If you got any questions, you can contact Susie at 270-4290. All right, turning our attention to mental health. It's okay to have mental illness. It is. And yeah, this is what we got here. It's okay to talk about mental illness. Talking makes people feel less alone. It's okay to get help with mental illness. Life can get better. It can. Yeah, then you should talk about this. Mental health includes our emotions, psychology, social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. So it helps determine how we handle stress related to others and make choices. Mental health is important to every stage of life, from childhood, adolescence, through adulthood. So yeah, talk about it. It's okay. It's okay. Everybody's stressed. Everybody goes through things. And I think this day and age, it's awesome that we can be talking more about these things that weren't talked about in the past. And this is one of those. So we'll continue to share information. And I love seeing these stories and sharing links where you can learn more. Department of Health Services Wisconsin's got a whole great lineup here on talking about mental health and whether it's getting help or helping somebody or just learning more. It's so important to talk about it, and that information is there on your screen. All right, that does it for our headlines. Coming up next, we open up our 2-part segment with the Historical Society as they interview Promega. That's next right here on Talking Fitchburg.
Hey, boss. Okay.
I said I'm fine.
Me to bed, see you in the morning with the frosted Superman, but it wasn't on it, and we lost it. In my head, in my head, in my head. Where you at? Underlay in my head.
Hey, son.
Hey, Bob.
You know you can talk to me.
Yeah.
We're all just trying to keep things running for those who rely on us.
Ready?
That's why we don't have time to be sick with the flu. And especially this year, no one has time to get sick. Get a flu shot for yourself and those around you too.
This is Catherine Schneider from the Fitchburg Historical Society, and we are continuing our series on interviews of leaders in Fitchburg on the pandemic and how it has impacted Fitchburg and beyond, as well as the impact Fitchburg has had on beyond our borders. And we are so pleased this morning to have representatives from Promega with us this morning to go into more detail of how Promega has been so responsive, actually on a world scale, to the pandemic. We have with us this morning Penny Patterson, who is the Vice President of Corporate Affairs at Promega, and then Jennifer Romanin, who is the Senior Director of IVD Operations. And they are going to do a presentation for us this morning. And so I'm so pleased to turn our program over to them.
Thank you so much, Catherine. And I'd say Jen also serves on our board of directors. So you got a 2-for-1 with Jen today. So we thought, what we might do is just share a little bit about just sort of starting with who we are, because we know it's a big mystery. Biotechnology, if you don't live in the world, is a little bit like, what in the world is it? And so talking a little bit about that, and invite Jen and I will just sort of work through a few visuals and slides that share what that is. Some of these things were also shared recently with the Committee on Economic Development at Fitchburg too. So we shared it there. So we'll go through that, and then a little bit more on COVID, and then maybe we can chat about that. I'll stop sharing my screen, and we can talk about what we did. So just a little bit about who in the world is Promega. Just sort of a little, the basics. Sort of landed in Fitchburg in '78, before Fitchburg was Fitchburg, actually. Our revenue is over 700, almost 800 million now, 1,800 employees around the world. About 1,000 of those employees report into the Madison branch, by the way, or the Fitchburg branch. About 4,000 products, and we'll be talking about a super subset of those, about 50 of them regarding COVID. And we distribute to about 100 countries. So we did serve the global pandemic globally. And this just gives you a little snapshot of where our branches are, where we're doing manufacturing. The blue dots are all the distributors to get to that sort of 100 country service that we have around the world. What in the world do you do? I know that question's still like, okay, great. We know who your customers are, but still, what do you do? And if we broke it down, we would say we do a couple things. We create reagents, chemicals, chemistries that work inside of a cell. A single cell is immensely complex. There's a ton of stuff going on in there. Some of our scientists call it incredible machinery, but all sorts of things are going on in there that suggest how life is working. And I am not the scientist, by the way. So Jen, jump in at any time. As this historical society said, hey, we want to talk to Promega, and Karen, a colleague of mine, Karen Burkhartzmeyer and I were talking about it. She said, Penn, would you mind talking? And I said, only if I had a scientist by my side. So,
I'm here for you, Penn.
Yeah. So just speaking that, the cell is like super complicated. and all the things that go on in there. So we make chemistries that help break that open or watch what's going on, and then some instruments that help automate the experiments. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Jen. That's sort of the non-science version of that.
I like to try to explain reagents just a little bit. So a reagent is a mixture of a number of chemicals and liquids. So for example, one of our reagents might be a mixture of different salts and water and different kinds of liquids that are like soapy liquids, for example. And we formulate reagents. So we bring all those pieces together and create those mixtures that are necessary to create a single reagent. And then the products that we sell combine multiple reagents together to perform some sort of activity, like maybe to purify your DNA out of a cell. And a lot of kids now in the Fitchburg area, I'm sure, have been gone through the purifying DNA from strawberries experiment. I know our technical services team members go out and do that in the community. I've done that with my kids when they were younger in their classrooms. If you've done that before, if you've had that experience, the different chemicals, reagents that you use might be shampoo, some sort of alcohol. Our reagents that we create are the more sophisticated and sensitive versions of those types of products. So hopefully that helps people start to picture what a reagent might look like, or a kit. And then the instruments that we manufacture and sell basically automate these processes for our customers. So instead of doing a bunch of manual steps, they're able to allow the instrument to take the reagents from our kit and run a process or create an outcome for them more quickly or less hands-on time more easily. So a little bit of background on that.
And all those things too require sort of a high level of service. Oh, now I'm getting the background a little bit. And actually Jen works with those teams as well in terms of helping scientists use those reagents if they have questions or want to choose the right one or want to use it on something different than you know, they're trying something new, as well as instruments, servicing those instruments, making sure they're running well and doing the work they need to do. So a lot of support to our customers that comes from Jen and her team.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it. So follow guidance from authorities where you live and do your part. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit any social gathering. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
After you joined our family, it was like, I really do feel complete now.
Brandon met a girl on a dating app. He finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving.
She must be a keeper.
So let's talk a little bit about COVID. Now this is one of our experiments. We have a little video embedded here. Let's see if it will actually work. Keep your fingers crossed.
Promega, which will be producing the important reagent materials to be able to do the testing for COVID-19.
There has been a global effort in optimizing the methods and tools that enable the detection of the viral genes within wastewater systems.
We initiated a project to detect antibodies against the SARS-CoV-2 we sought to create a solution that would allow the analysis of the samples without having to perform sample extraction.
Like Promega and Madison are helping meet the growing demand for tests. We provide the chemicals that allow the researcher to get that material and use it in a way that informs them of if someone has COVID-19 or not.
Promega makes a number of different reagents that are involved in all steps along the way in the testing process.
So
well, that worked pretty well.
Yeah, so you can see and that we did it with reagents and instruments. A couple of little highlights of those products. I'm so glad that worked well, by the way. We had the clinical diagnostics, do you have COVID? We were in many of those tests, probably about, we were trying to calculate it, and we couldn't get an exact number, but we know we were in well over half the tests in the world that were testing for COVID. So we had an ingredient in there, and some of that was in sample preparation, both pulling out the RNA, DNA, and then the analysis of helping figure out is COVID there. This, I just wanted to point out that you learned about many areas of the company, and throughout this chart, we won't get into it, is a whole thing about all those groups we serve and all the kinds of technologies we provide. We found our COVID touch points in many parts in the company. So whether it was in some of our primary tools for research and testing, whether it was in working with, like we mentioned earlier, those applied markets for wastewater surveillance, or whether it was in custom OEM manufacturing, where we manufacture something specific to go into somebody else's kit. There were a lot of different touch points for the company in how it supported the COVID crisis. And then I think this is almost the last slide, but also sharing the spirit of community support. So there was the public-private partnership. You saw Governor Evers speaking there. So working with both the Wisconsin Department of Health, but also some other groups along the way, trying to do our part. We had infrastructure that we couldn't sustain support forever, but we could help Band-Aid some of the immediate needs and gaps. And so that came in a few different forms. It came in our logistics team actually being the one to figure out how to get COVID tests to schools in Dane County and get those delivered out. It came in helping vaccinate the Madison Police Department. There were some connections there. We also checked with the Fitchburg Police Department, by the way, but they were already well underway into getting vaccinated. But we did work with the city in another area with the senior center and helping volunteers get vaccinated. So in addition, that wellness center, those folks were incredible, not only in helping our own employees, but saying we do have a little bit of capacity to help the community. We can't do everything. We had to work very carefully with the departments of health to ensure that we manage those vaccine processes carefully, especially with needing two. There's a lot of things to consider in that. But there were some places where we said, this is contained and we can help, and we wanted to do that. So this just last slide that just shares the importance that, we're kind of all in this together, that we measure ourselves by how we work together, not just by, the quarterly financial statements.
I would like to just comment for myself in terms of, and I'm sure people who are going to be viewing this, on the enlightenment that you've given us for Promega, who Promega is, what Promega does. These are questions I know I've heard from other people about what are those beautiful buildings out there in Fitchburg, this Promega, and what are they about? And you have really clarified that so beautifully today. And then to go into the specifics of how Promega responded to this worldwide pandemic that we have been in the midst of for the last year and a half or so. I just feel from hearing your presentation, a sense of deep pride that this company that has made its home in Fitchburg and embedded itself in the Fitchburg community has had such a tremendous impact in the world in helping us with the testing for this horrible pandemic that we have been in the midst of, the cooperation that was needed to make this happen, the team that you have put together to accomplish this, and then the amount of cooperation that has been needed. I'm just in awe of what you have done. And so a tremendous thank you is due to your company from those of us who live locally, but then from the worldwide community. This is just so impressive. So I want to thank both of you for your tremendous contributions from your company. So if you could relay that back.
We're happy to. It's an incredible team of people who did all this, and this is sort of the tip of the iceberg, frankly, but it gives you a little sense.
It does. And I guess just to end up today, do you have any personal comments on what working for Promega has meant to each of you, maybe particularly through this COVID time? I think this has been a unique historic period, both for the world and our communities, but for us as individuals too. So either one of you or both of you, your comments about that.
The only thing I jump in on is when I was saying the tip of the iceberg, things we didn't hit on as much that to me were so meaningful. Sorry for the sunshine. I didn't realize it would come in so much. Is the people. I mean, I just really come back to a lot about the people. The things you didn't see as much of that we can certainly provide to the archives, or internally, there was a lot of gratitude. You saw a little bit reference to thank you, but a lot of appreciation for what's going on and trying to have fun and connection. There's a whole story around early on, the manufacturing teams sort of adopted the mantra, just keep swimming, which came from, I don't know if you ever saw Finding Nemo, but it sort of came out of that spirit of just keep swimming, just keep going. And it came up in our first virtual town hall from our VP of manufacturing, Chuck York, who said, we're just saying, just keep swimming. Well, the whole company just embraced that spirit to the point where we even heard from the writer of Finding Nemo, who sent us his special, just keep swimming, thanks and appreciation. And so the fact that, that this idea of celebration and connection for our employees is the thing that helps us get through some of these things, and not only get through them, but perform at incredible rates. Some of our performance rates actually, if they could go up, they did in some ways during this. People were focused and they were driven. And I can't say enough about how incredible that was.
I would just add on the fact that, so I was mentioning to Catherine at the beginning that this is my 28th year at Promega. And so lots of enjoyment seeing the company grow over these last 28 years and seeing things like investments that we've made into additional space that we were then space, in fact, that we don't know how it's going to be used, but we build that space every time we build a building so that we have additional capacity and capabilities. And that was needed during COVID. We needed to build into those spaces. We needed to add new capabilities. And so there's a lot of that statement that Penny shared in the presentation that Bill made about looking for the future isn't just words. It's physically embodied in the way that we build our buildings, the way that we train our staff, the desire to create a workplace where people want to be here for a long time, so that they were quite experienced going into COVID. We, of course, hired many people and we had to train new people, but without strong leaders that had a lot of years of experience, that would have been more of a challenge. And as Penny said, the output increased significantly, and our complaint rates, if at all possible, to drop, because they're already quite low, dropped during that time as well. So I guess, you mentioned being proud to be part of the Fitchburg community and have Promega here, and I'm very proud to have and am working here and being within the Fitchburg community. It's very grateful, I guess, ultimately. So
it's a special place, and I think the support flows back and forth. For I think the Fitchburg community is also thinks about the future and the long term, and what does that mean? And I think sharing that spirit has helped us both grow in a way that's mindful to integration of what's to come. Even though we might not know what's to come, we've created an infrastructure that can receive it when it arrives. So
yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, nicely said, Pen.
I would say from the perspective of the Fitchburg Historical Society, you have made history, and we are recording it today so that we can save it and savor and congratulate you on what you have done and your accomplishments. So I would end by just my great thanks to both of you for being here today, and for the Promega organization for just providing both of you for us here. And then to say that we will be having the interview also on fitchburghistory.org, our website. So we're most pleased to offer that also to people for revisiting this opportunity for hearing about Promega. And then I guess ending by just saying, keep swimming. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
See on page 4 that the projections need to be blood next Thursday.
Seriously? Thursday? Can't do that.
This is really inconvenient.
I have yoga that day. I have no time for this. So I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency. Don't wait. Communicate.
If you love them enough to suck the snot out of their nose at 4 a.m., then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Wrapping up the show, I want to thank our friends from Promega, and of course Catherine Schneider from the Fitchburg Historical Society for sharing that great interview. The full interview, by the way, we just showed you the 2 parts. It was longer than that. We actually have that posted up on our Facebook and YouTube page. You can check out that interview and all the past interviews with the Historical Society. She's done a great series, Catherine, on the COVID-19 pandemic, kind of looking back at it and different people's perspectives. It's pretty neat. All right, as we wrap up here, remember you can take us with you when you head out for your holiday weekend. And we hope you have a fun and safe holiday weekend at that. But when you get bored, like us on Facebook and YouTube. Just saying. Have a good weekend.